Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Friday the 13th. Good God, Friday the 13th. That's a little bit nerve-wracking, isn't it? Some brilliant breaking news for anyone who's plugged into the Palestine Action hearing or appeal. Just wanted to say the big breaking news, literally the news broke only 35 minutes ago. Palestine Action, High Court rules that the ban on Palestine Action is unlawful. This is major, major news. All of the images, all of the footage, all of the stories, testimonies we've heard of vicars, of priests, of doctors, of veterans, RAF veterans such as Steve Masters, people who've been arrested, people who've been charged, people who've run the risk of spending 14 years in prison for supporting a direct action pressure group, which is what Palestine Action has always been until the government prescribed it a terrorist organization. Breaking news is that the High Court has upheld the appeal. So I'm just going to read you through some of the evolving story because there is, we have a response from our incredibly compromised, turncoat, sort of Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmoud. We have her response. Her response is coming in 2 seconds. She's literally just posted it. Don't forget, Shabana Mahmoud, our Home Secretary, a woman who advocated for, campaigned for, went on protest marches to remind us all that we should never trust the hesitancy and slow-moving Israeli government. We should never trust the mainstream governmental narratives around the treatment of Palestinians. And she's just pivoted into one of the most conservative Labour governments ever known to man and seeks to erode civil liberties. And this will be a fly in her ointment because she's, what is she, second, third, fourth Home Secretary? So I just want to share the headlines. We've got High Court rules ban on Palestine Action is unlawful. Here's some, this is The Guardian, Canary, UK, independent news gathering, online outlet. The High Court has just ruled the ban on Palestine Action to be unlawful. Turns out opposing genocide isn't terrorism. Breaking, declassified terrorism ban on Palestine Action ruled unlawful by High Court. Zach Polanski, a court has ruled that the government's authoritarian ban on Palestine Action was unlawful. Time to stop criminalizing the people, protesting a genocide, and start ending the UK's complicity. And we know that the UK was complicit because Wes Streeting has told us all so, and we are going to be talking about that too. I'm just going to share with you, so in terms of the breaking, the evolution of the story, let me just give you a group of protesters outside the High Court erupted into cheers and chanted "Free Palestine" after the ruling was given. Amori, who is one of the founders of Palestine Action, Amori said, "This is a monumental victory both for our fundamental freedoms here in Britain and in the struggle for freedom for the Palestinian people, striking down a decision that will forever be remembered as one of the most extreme attacks on free speech in recent British history. Palestine Action is the first civil disobedience organization that does not advocate for violence to be prescribed by the British government as a terrorist group in a Trumpian abuse of power, which would have seen this Labour government prescribe the suffragettes. The ban was unlawful, resulting in the unlawful arrest of nearly 3,000 people, among them priests, vicars, former magistrates, retired doctors, under terrorism laws for simply sitting in silence while holding signs reading, 'I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action.'" And here incoming is, this Labour government that have managed to get a former Palestinian advocate and a Muslim Home Secretary to do all of their dirty work for them. Here it is. Not surprising, not surprising. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmoud said she was disappointed by the ruling and says that she plans to appeal it. Wow. Wow, this woman is a real fucking article. If you look far, you don't have to look that far enough back. We've played the footage. If you look at her on marches, on podiums, advocating discussing and talking about the sinister aspect around Zionism and Israeli control of Palestinians and the British government's complicity in this. This is the same woman. If you need some kind of fucking convincing that we've had an alien intervention and they've occupied the bodies and minds of our politicians, or is this the true meaning of the phrase, power corrupts, and true power truly corrupts? I mean, what? Here is a moment for the government. The government has been offered an off-ramp here. I saw someone just say it in the comments there. They've got rid of McSweeney. They've got a Mandelson crisis. They have an opportunity here. Wes Streeting has admitted in a series of fucking private correspondence, email texts between him and Mandelson that, you know, they're committing the most awful war crimes. Israel are committing the most awful war crimes. You have an off-ramp here, Shabana Mahmoud. You have the opportunity here to just ratchet it down and stop this overzealous, over-Zionist overreach. She can't not know, given what she has herself protested, proclaimed in her younger days as an advocate for Palestine, she can't not know the true hypocrisy and reversal of what she's suggesting in appealing this. How she can live with herself. It's why I presume her entire visage and manner has completely transformed visually. She's occupying a role. You're right. It's the Israeli lobby. They never concede. So here's her full statement. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmoud's full statement. I am disappointed by the court's decision and disagree with the notion that banning this terrorist organization is disproportionate. The prescription of Palestine action followed a rigorous and evidence-based decision-making process. Hang on a minute. You never shared that rigorous process with anyone. Why conceal all the details if it's so rigorous and it's so fucking slam dunky and obvious? This is ridiculous. The prescription does not prevent peaceful protest in support of the Palestinian cause, another point on which the court agrees. As a former Lord Chancellor, I have the deepest respect for our judiciary. Home Secretaries must, however, retain the ability to take action to protect our national security and keep the public safe. I intend to fight this judgment in the Court of Appeal. You are an absolute fucking shame. Absolutely shameful politician. You're a shameful Home Secretary. It is beyond unforgivable that even when the High Court, this is this fucking Labour government. So our High Court, with all the cost and all the effort and all of the endeavour to go to these lengths, and our government simply appeals it. You are going to rue the day that you don't fucking accept this verdict. Because you've been gifted an off-ramp. You could blame it all on McSweeney. You could blame it all on Mandelson. You could seek to soften your right-wing, fascistic, sympathizing, Zionist fucking cozying up. Here's your moment, Labour, and you're not taking it. You're not taking it because you're so complicit. Now, when we do, apparently there's going to be this whole kind of fucking examination of foreign interference in parties because Labour doesn't want reform to get, what, 100 million, whatever, from Elon Musk? Neither should they. But I hope when they do this interrogation of how foreign countries are infiltrating the funding of parties, will they examine the Israeli lobby? Will they examine the money that's coming in? Appeals are part of the democratic process, but so is protest. So is direct action. Direct action and protest is part of our democratic right, and that's what they're fucking eroding. Plus, let's not forget, they bolted Palestine Action into a group of 3 terrorist organizations, 2 of which had fucking Mickey Mouse names that suggested like they were like, let's go and stab everyone repeatedly that's really bad. Palestine Action has not attacked or killed anyone and hasn't advocated to. Palestine Action are about the opposite. They're about the stopping of killing people. So of course we know appeals are part of the democratic process, but one is also allowed in the democratic process to say, fuck your appeal, fuck your fucking argument, and fuck off, because it's a fucking joke. An absolute joke. She is an absolute joke. They had every opportunity here to just lessen the rhetoric, find a way to, even in their own terms, appeal to the elements of the Labour Party that are sick to death of their support of Israel and their tacit acknowledgement. You know, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. You've got Wes Streeting admitting that a cabinet member felt that Israel was committing war crimes. You can't tell me he was the only one. Why do you think they suddenly said, no one else in the government release your fucking private correspondence with anyone? Why? Because then we would have seen and probably heard and probably felt even more people were worried about Israel's behavior. And I can promise you now, as we speak, the Mandelson inquiry is not looking into the Mandelson issues. It's looking into how they can quash, find, conceal, and not reveal to the public the extent to which, to the highest echelons of government, everyone knew and everyone knows that Israel has been committing war crimes. And so on a day where actually this again speaks to the lack of humanity, the lack of warmth, the lack of empathy, the lack of any fucking reading the roomness of this government. You could have taken this and you could have ratcheted the language down. You could have diminished the dissatisfaction that the vast majority of former Labour voters have with the Labour Party. And you could have said, okay, maybe on this one we got it wrong. But no, you're going to fucking appeal it. And we know it's a right to appeal. But there was an opportunity here to build fucking bridges. And I hope it goes to appeal, and I hope it's one again. The frustrating news, of course, is one of the details of the High Court ruling is this. The ban on Palestine action stays in place until the government decides on appeal, which is curious, isn't it? So now that Shabana has decided she's going to appeal it, can the ban take effect? And now they have to reverse it, presumably. Now that Shabana Mahmood has said, oh, because if you read the letter of the finding, Judges Victoria Sharp, Jonathan Swift and Karen Stain said the ban will remain in place while the government considers whether to appeal. So the Home Secretary has said she plans to appeal. So does that mean the ban is lifted? Or does the ban stay in place until the end of the findings of the appeal? I've never hated a British politician more. I find Shabana Mahmood is contrary to every conceivable aspect of what she used to be as an activist and advocate for Palestine. But in terms of the short-term victory of the situation, the ban has been overturned. The ban has been overturned. And Zach Polanski says it's time to stop criminalizing the people protesting a genocide and start ending the UK's complicity. How about pursuing the biggest wanted war criminal in the world, Benjamin Netanyahu? How about even mentioning it once as a Labour government that he's a wanted war criminal? You don't even mention it. They don't even mention it. It's just a drama. In the end, they will rule it lawful. They want us to believe there is an independent judicial. I don't really understand which way you're going with that. They said that Palestine Action had done much worse things than they were going to let us all know. They never did. So another lie, Sally Beadle. Yeah, and they use the spear. This is the thing. This is how we're all maintained. This is how we're kept in a manufactured consent scenario. They tell us whenever they don't want to tell us stuff that they know we'll go fucking batshit crazy about, and we will feel the hypocrisy and the illegality and the connivance and the complicity and everything. What they do is they go national security. It's forever and a day. I mean, it's always been like this. There is always. Yes, at the moment. Well, that's a good question. The finding was they will stay a banned group. The ban will stay in place until the Home Secretary decides whether she's going to appeal it. She stated publicly she's going to appeal it. So I'd like to know, does that mean the ban is now lifted? They are now a normal organization until the government appeals it. Otherwise, what's the point of a finding if any kind of appeal maintains the original ruling? If just the act of appeal, does the act of appealing it render the finding null and void? Yes, still banned until the appeal taken place. That's why she's done it. That's why she's done it. As quick as a flash. That's why she's done it so quickly, so that there isn't any scintilla of hope for anyone who's being prosecuted or has that sword of, is it Sophocles, Damocles, whatever it is, hanging over them. Who, Shabana Mahmood, can someone find out what is Shabana Mahmood's majority in her constituency? Because I think the Green Party need to target it heavily at the next election. What sort of a majority did Shabana Mahmood win her constituency with? Due process is still in progress. Bollocks to due process. It's sickening. It's sickening. This system, the corruption, the boot on the neckness of it. The whole ban was brought in an underhand, deceitful fashion. And she is, with her wide-eyed passive aggressivity. I don't know if you've noticed, but the symptoms of this Labour Party or this Labour government, Keir Starmer, Shabana Mahmood, Yvette Cooper, is just wide-eyed, wide eyes popping, eyes popping. Maybe Doreen Strachan, was never into supporting the Palestinian people. She could have just been doing it because she thought, well, absolutely. It was what we've discovered about Shabana Mahmood. And I wish a fucking journalist had the fucking nous to ask this of her. So when you were campaigning and advocating for Palestine, was that purely performative? Was that simply about furthering and feathering your nest and moving your politics along and getting your career going? Was it because at that time it was the right thing to be saying? Why doesn't anyone ask these politicians any fucking probing, difficult questions? Oh, so the ban stays in place until the appeal has been heard. Prescription of Palestine. Oh, here's more details. So the prescription of Palestine action was disproportionate, judges rule. The High Court upheld 2 grounds of challenge, including that the ban was a disproportionate interference with the right to freedom of expression and freedom of assembly. How does she feel about being a Home Secretary when a court has found against her government that a law they've brought in and a prescription they've pursued was a disproportionate interference with the right to freedom of expression and freedom of assembly? Let's not forget, this has been done by a Labour government, as stated by the founder of Palestine Action. The suffragettes, based on the current Labour government's terms and notions, how do you feel? What do you think of this one, Michu? So the suffragettes wouldn't have been able to gain any purchase to pursue anything that they pursued if this government was in place at that time. This government wouldn't allow the oxygen, nor the preconditions, nor the circumstances in which for the suffragettes to actually win the right to vote for women, because the way in which they went about it would have been deemed terrorist. James Flanagan, I think I've overloaded myself with politics and it's making me frustrated with the wank stains in power. What is wrong with them? We've got an interesting clip, actually. I was going to discuss it today, but this kind of erupted, sent to us by a friend of ours, Miranda, about why actually we do and many of us find that we can only take so much in of such awful, terrible news. You can only tolerate so much. Apparently we're only designed emotionally, physically, biologically to be able to, process or make sense of a certain amount of horror. Sarah Jane Greer, as a lifelong Labour voter, I hate them. I fucking hate them too, Sarah Jane Greer. I hate them more. And the reason, I'm pleased you said that, the reason I hate them more than I could ever hate the Tories. I've always hated the Tories. I know I hate reform. I will forever hate reform. But Labour, it's the duplicitousness. It's the lying. It's the slow erosion of trust. It's the deceit. It's the Iago-style backroom dealings. It's the extent to which, if you read into it, guys, Starmer and all of the acolytes around him have manufactured this incredibly politically poisonous, insincere, entirely corrupt cabal of Labour governance. And the fact that they're so unpopular doesn't seem to bother them at all. So one of the most unpopular governments ever, with one of the most unpopular leaders ever, doesn't seek to find the off-ramp. That's what I find so compelling and interesting here. Just on a purely humanistic level. And this is where humanistic aspects are devoid in politics. There is no space for them. A real opportunity today, rather than Shabana Mahmood firing off her immediate appeal, a real opportunity here to negotiate, to talk, to meet in the middle, to hear. Further details in a 46-page judgment. The judges said Palestine Action is an organization that promotes its political cause through criminality and the encouragement of criminality, but the prescription was still disproportionate. In a 46-page judgment, she said a very small number of its actions have amounted to terrorist action within the definition of the Terrorism Act 2000. So the government have overblown the idea that they're a threat, that they're in any way a threat. Labour kicked socialists out of the party in 2020. Absolutely. Well, Mitri, you say popularity shouldn't matter once in office, but the only reason the Labour Party have veered to the right and embraced and occupied the centre politics of centre-rightness, etc., is because they want to be popular. The whole point of being party politics is only about popularity. And they've sought, the reason they're so unpopular is they've sought a fraudulent popularity by encroaching upon policies and topics and campaigns that aren't naturally Labour. So you may as well not be Labour. Raven, she won because Lady Wood, as I presume that's her constituency, is a Pakistani Muslim area, and she ran on the Palestine issue many times. Well, she won't win it again, will she? She won't win it again. Oh, Shabana Mahmood, man. So on the one hand, it's joyful. On the one hand, it's brilliant. On the other, it's the government. It's been another opportunity for the government to entirely demonstrate their refusal to budge. Their refusal to budge. But at least it's been called disproportionate. Yes, they have to appeal, and let's hope and let's presume that on appeal, Palestine Action will win. But of course, the other thing the government does with these sorts of things, and this happens across all sorts of departments across government, is when the government appeals, they can keep funding appeal after appeal after appeal. But of course, for Palestine Action, it costs an awful lot of money. So there is the kind of David and Goliath aspect here, where the system and the state is seeking to bully you out by pricing you out of the game. Let me just so just getting rid of some of the things on my I want to talk about this just briefly. So going back to let's remember, seeing as we're on this topic, Jeremy Corbyn has asked Wes Streeting why he did not resign over the Israeli war crimes admission. This is a really good question. If you believe Israel was committing war crimes, says Jeremy Corbyn, why did you not resign from a government that was continuing to provide military and economic support to Israel? That's what we were referring to when we said he demonstrates a moral vacuity and a moral paucity of moral fiber. If you can say it, if you can see it and feel it, but your own aspiration, your own political ambition, if your own political ambition is more important than a humanitarian decision, that's quite shocking. So Jeremy Corbyn has sent an official letter. He posted it on his Instagram, but he challenges Streeting on 4 points, which I think are really key and really crucial. It's at moments like now that you need the terrier, as I described him earlier, of Jeremy Corbyn to just keep yapping and nipping at your heels. So Jeremy Corbyn in this letter, so presumably if it's an official letter signed by 5 MPs, does it have to be answered? I don't know. There seems to be no It feels like there's no compulsion on anyone in government to ever answer anything. The amount of letters we've sent to the entirely fucking useless Steve Reed, our MP, never get an answer. And when you do, it's so fucking far into the future that you've forgotten what the original fucking email you sent was. Okay, so he challenges Streeting on these 4 points. Why did you not resign from a government that was continuing to provide military and economic support to Israel, a nation you believed was committing war crimes? Answer that, Wes Streeting. Any journalist willing to add this question onto a list of questions the next time they have Wes Streeting in for anything? Second one, do you believe this government is complicit in war crimes? Really simple question. Shouldn't be a gotcha question, but any journalist who wants a moment which will probably go viral and will maybe define their journalistic career, just ask Wes Streeting that question next time you see him. Please, I beg of you, anyone, vaguely, with fucking half a brain cell to fucking scrub together. 3, would you be willing to cooperate with the ICC regarding any investigation into this government's complicity in war crimes? Maybe a little bit too long for many journalists to ask, but a great question. And 4, can you outline the specific steps you took to end this government's military and political support for Israel? Angry Bird, thank you so much for supporting the channel. It's incredibly kind of you. Thank you. And passion for Palestine will never cease. Thank you, Angry Bird, very much. So that 4th one, can you outline the specific steps you took to end this government's military and political support for Israel? Another killer question. Journos, ask those 4 questions. Those 4 questions should be screenshot and popped in your BlackBerry if you still have them. Beth Rigby, all the rest of you, when you next get Wes Streeting, just for us, just for that huge percentage of the country that can't stomach genocides. Thank you, Tony, as well. That's very kind of you. Please, please, please ask just some of these questions. Please just ask one vaguely challenging, difficult question. Every single journalist in the mainstream media is after a gotcha moment. A gotcha moment is when you ask the question and it's like, oh, they fall down a hole. Nick Ferrari is very good at them, asking them. Even though I don't agree with him politically, he's very good at getting those moments where you have a politician scrambling around, and in the scramble, it tells you everything. You don't get the answer, but in the scramble, you get everything. No one is asking a gotcha question. Now, part of that will probably be because I bet Wes Streeting hasn't made himself available for questions for a long time since his WhatsApp messages came out. And I hope to fucking God there will be activists and doorsteppers and people with microphones shoving them in his face the first time there's an opportunity to ask him. iPads, yeah, absolutely. iPods. Please ask just one of those questions that Jeremy Corbyn's asked, but I don't know what the protocol is. Nadia always asks the kind of killer question that one doesn't have the answer to. Will he have to answer this? I don't know. Does it mean you have to answer it? So nice of you, Angry Bird. Thank you. So thank you, Tony, too. Very kind of you. Supporting anyone in the independent media outlet, which is trying to just fucking challenge the mainstream media shit. Oh. I just want to play this clip from Bassem. It's just, sometimes one needs comedic rage. Bassem is obviously an advocate for Palestine. He's a stand-up comedian. I think he's Egyptian, isn't he? Please have a listen to this. He's on Piers Morgan. He's having an argument with Alan Dershowitz, is it? Epstein's lawyer.
Evidence is there that he is actually a Russian asset. His girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, was the daughter of a Mossad super spy. He was represented by you, Mr. Dershowitz, Israel's favorite lawyer, who you're also a lawyer to the Mossad, which, of course, everything you tell us will be true. Ehud Barak was at his place the whole time. He fled to Israel when he was charged with sex crimes. And he was pictured wearing an IDF shirt. He was funded by pro-Israel fanatics. He worked for the Rothschild. He donated to pro-Israel student groups. He was responsible for the Wagner's group's pro-Israel philanthropy. He supported Israel settlement projects. His friends were all Zionists. He referred to us as Goyim. He was involved in Israel diplomacy effort. He brokered security deals with Israel. And even a former Israeli intelligence officer, Ari Ben Menashe, like Mr. Ryan Grimm said, he said he ran a honeypot for Israel. So yes, of course, he was definitely a Russian spy. It makes sense.
Thanks, Bassem. Just again, the mainstream media, fine. Can you make, hey, Pete, find a fucking photo of Epstein in a Cossack hat so we can say he's a KGB asset. If you can find any footage of him doing any Russian high kicks or eating caviar or, you know, drinking vodka, anything. Just get anything so we can just say he's a fucking Russian intelligence asset. Because everything else, everything everywhere else is screaming fucking Israeli, mate. It's a conversation in the news, on the news desk. Just make sure you get anything. Get him a double vodka. What's a Russian vodka, mate? Oh, Russia. Don't you realize, guys? Doesn't it feel? Do you realize the message of the Wicked? There's a great line, I think it was in the first Wicked film, I presume it's in the musical, I can't believe I'm quoting Wicked, but they want to tell us who the enemy is. They try to tell us who the enemy is and how we all just swallow the propaganda is beyond me. Zach Polanski made a really nice point yesterday that the hustings. Nadia isn't here today. She's going to meet and do something. I don't want to spoil the surprise. She's doing something with Hannah Spencer, the candidate for Gorton and Denton. The Greens, by the way, in Gorton and Denton are the bookies' favourites. It's been a volatile day. The Greens are favourite to win, followed by Reform at 3-1 and Labour right out there on 10-1. So it's looking good for the Greens there. Just chip away at the system. Chip away. Get the Greens in. Just slowly change people's opinions. Make people realize that the Greens are not only a real option, a viable option, and a much more preferable option to Labour. But Zach Polanski was making the point yesterday, and we mentioned this when we had our chat with Hannah, and I think we talked about it a little bit with Zach Polanski on his podcast. One can say how much one hates and how hateful the likes of Farage are and various members of the Reform Party and that woman who was on the Jeremy Vine who lost her shit with Marina Perkis. But it doesn't mean you necessarily hate the Reform voters. There are many Reform voters who know what Farage is, don't care, and are with him because they don't care, because they're a little bit like him. But then there are many Reform voters who are scared, who are worried, who are looking for answers, who feel unheard, who feel unrepresented. And Reform are playing you guys. Reform are playing into your worst fears. They're feeding your hatred. They're feeding racism. They're feeding division. And it's not all about kumbaya, let's all stand in the yard and clap hands. But you know what? It's getting to the point where I'd much rather sing kumbaya. And I fucking hate singing kumbaya. But I'd rather sing kumbaya and be standing around a fireplace in my shorts. Ugh. Look, Sonia Donovan, we've got one, I think, civilization in the West. America will be lucky if they get one more proper election. I think we have one more election. If Reform get in, it may be our last election. So, Sonia, I hear what you're saying. I come from a political party, not sure about Greens. I think you've got nothing to lose from just bolting to the left, playing it safe. There's a saying in recovery and sobriety, which is, repeating the same behavior again and again, expecting a different outcome, i.e. drinking, thinking it'll be different, drinking, thinking it'll be different. Doing it again and again is insanity. Repeating the same behavior again and again, expecting a different outcome is the definition of insanity. And we've all been Stockholm syndromed into thinking this system is the only system. And yes, we have to work within the system to break the system. And you need to fight, and Reform will break the system in a way that punishes people. And the Green Party will hopefully, in my idealism, I would like to think it will break the system or challenge the system or change the system to benefit people. Okay? That's my basic distinction on the two. Lib Dems, it's just like, it's like, yeah, I wish they could, sometimes I hear something from the Lib Dems, I think, oh yeah, that's great. Let's just go for it. What have you got to lose? We have been flipping and flopping in a mealy-mouthed, pointless manner since World War II and before. As I've said many times before, if voting in this system with these parties truly changed anything, they would not let us do it. To believe in the system wholeheartedly to believe that the system has our best interests at heart wholeheartedly is what they want us to believe. It's what they want us to believe. No, you're absolutely right. And so the reform versus green thing, it sounds twee, it sounds neat, and it sounds trite. But on the one side, reform is about hate of others. And in that hate, you find hope for yourself, a particular type of self, principally white. And on the other, you've got hope, which is a shared concept. Hope is collaborative. Hope is much more, ironically, tickles into the fucking areas of Christianity and Catholicism and sharing. If you go into the heart of the share, the benevolence of what Christ, if there was a guy wandering around the Middle East, Palestinian, by the way, wandering around the Middle East, kind of sharing all of his love and everything in a sort of hippie fashion. Everything Christ would have been promoting as he flopped around in his flip-flops is stuff that Reform and Trump and all these wankers using religion would claim is socialism or communism. So here's my thing. I get what you're saying, Sonia. You come from, I understand you. It's not that we weren't there. We were there before the last election. We went green at the last election before Zach Polanski was even a whiff in our ears, a sparkle in our eyes. But I've got to a point where unless one is willing to lurch hard in a different direction, I hear what you're saying, Mujib, that's what a lot of reform voters are feeling. The change could be dramatic either way. And this is where I think, ironically, there is a little bit more crossover potentially from reform to Greens. Greens, I think, could appeal to some of those reform voters who may be a bit discomforted by hate everyone. And could we see more and more migrants, people that we know, families that we know? Could they have knocks on their door? Reform want ICE operatives wandering around doing something similar to America. Really? The Kemi Badenoch, the Tories want the same. You know, I'm sure there are some reform voters who are like a bit kind of, maybe that's a bit too much. I don't know. Well, they're the ones that need to just step over to Greens, because if the Greens get in, they'll shake the system up too. You got fascists on the left and hippies on the right. No, you got fascists on the right and hippies on the left. You know what I'm saying? Sarah Jane Gray, I went green at the last election after Labour Keir showed true colours with Palestine. Can't go back. Greens are getting strong and strong. I mean, Labour is done. Labour is done. It's a bust flush. Everything they were, the very simple fact that if the suffragettes were trying to achieve, you know, female suffrage now using the techniques and the direct action that they utilised to win the vote for women back then, the fact that we have a Labour government that would disallow it with the rules and laws and its attitude to civil unrest that it has tells you everything you need about Labour. The Labour mission is finished. The Labour Party is finished, and Starmer is the gatekeeper of that, the caretaker of that complete demise. Cheerio, Labour. So we've had Bassem. Now, I do want to talk about, so yeah, Wes Streeting, again, the only outlets reporting on Jeremy Corbyn's letter to Wes Streeting is Middle East Eye and Al Jazeera. That tells you everything, doesn't it? Not even the Guardian was reporting on it. A couple of more updates here from the Palestine Action founding. Let me read these to you. So we're getting lots of reaction from rights and activist groups to the High Court's ruling. Tom Sutherden, Amnesty International UK's Law and Human Rights Director, has described the ruling as a vital affirmation of the right to protest. He added that the High Court's decision sends a clear message. The government cannot simply reach for sweeping counter-terrorism powers to silence critics or suppress dissent. It draws an important line in the sand against attempts to narrow the democratic space and undermine public confidence in the right to speak out. Greenpeace UK said, arresting thousands of protesters, many of them pensioners who were simply holding signs, is the stuff of satire. Hopefully this ruling will deliver a much needed reality check. Human Rights Watch said, the court's ruling reinforces what many of us have been saying all along, that the government's misuse of terrorism legislation was a brazen and gross abuse of power that served to stifle legitimate criticism of Israel and those profiting from its atrocities. Stop the War Coalition has called on the Met Police Commissioner Mark Rowley and former Home Secretary Yvette Cooper to resign. They've also said now the CPS, Crown Prosecution Service, must drop all charges against those wrongly arrested and imprisoned without trial for peacefully protesting a genocide. So those are the sort of latest updates. Jeremy not cancelled it. No, well, you know, the problem with Jeremy for me is just simply, if he needs to, I hope he does what George Galloway's, whatever his Workers' Party is it Workers' Party? George Galloway said he wasn't running his Workers' Party candidate in Gorton and Denton in support for the Greens. I mean, I do hope that that your party, Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn's outfit, work in cahoots with the Greens. I really do. I mean, if the Greens know they're going to win one, I mean, you know, you can do business with them, right? Absolutely. I mean, I agree with a lot of what Jeremy Corbyn says. I just find I found the kind of squabbling just off-putting. That was the issue with it. So bear with me one sec. I'm just tidying this up. Right. I now want to step towards Netanyahu, apologies everyone, and Herzog on the charm offensive. So Netanyahu, I think perhaps having a shorter visit with Trump than perhaps even he expected. You have to read the subtitles. This was his analysis of his brief meeting with Donald Trump. Apologies, you are going to hear the voice of Mr. Potato Head.
ביקור קצר אבל חשוב בוושינגטון, בשיחה עם ידידנו הגדול הנשיא טראמפ. יש בינינו קשר מאוד הדוק ומאוד אמיתי ומאוד גלוי. כמובן השיחות התמקדו בכמה וכמה נושאים, אבל למעשה במשא ומתן.
He said there that him and Donald Trump have an open relationship, which I think includes threesomes and orgies by the sounds of it, if you look at the Epstein files clearly, and suggests all sorts of illegality. But I didn't think Netanyahu was going to walk down the steps of a plane and admit that him and Donald Trump are engaged in an open relationship. But he said it. I mean, the man said it himself. He's admitted, Benjamin Netanyahu, that he and Donald Trump are in an open relationship. Makes one want to vomit, doesn't it? Because immediately I'm sort of thinking of Peter Mandelson's white Y-fronts and things like that.
מאיראן, הנשיא חושב שהאיראנים כבר למדו אם יש להם עסק. הוא חושב שהתנאים שהוא יוצר, בשילוב העובדה שהם בוודאי מבינים שהם טעו בפעם הקודמת שהם לא עשו הסכם, שיכול להיות שיבצעו התנאים להשגת הסכם טוב. רוצה לשמוע את דעתי. אני לא אסתיר מכם שאני הבעתי סקפטיות כללית לגבי טיב הסכם כלשהו עם איראן.
So he shared his skepticism around any agreement with Iran, just like he shares his skepticism around the idea of not declaring war on every single Arab or Persian nation. Whenever there is the prospects or possibility of there not being a war, Benjamin Netanyahu shares his skepticism because he is a warmonger. He is worse than Hitler. He is a fascistic dictator in a so-called spurious lying democracy.
שאם אכן יושג הסכם, אז הוא חייב לכלול את האלמנטים שהם חשובים מאוד מבחינתנו, מבחינת ישראל, דעתי לא רק ישראל, זאת אומרת, זה לא רק הגרעין, זה גם הטילים הבליסטיים, זה גם השלוחים האיראנים.
So he's basically saying that Iran, what he's pressuring Donald Trump to do with Iran is not let them have ballistic missiles. So we have two countries, Israel and America, expecting us to take seriously them demanding of a sovereign nation that feels existentially threatened by not only Israel, but America. He's saying that it's a rational and reasonable request that they don't have ballistic missiles, but it's okay for Israel to have an unknown number of atomic nuclear weapons that are never monitored, never, surveyed, we're never allowed to talk about. So those are the conditions. And I can tell you right now that Iran absolutely will not agree to doing anything with its standard ballistic missiles. Any and every country in the world, whether we like it or not, if other countries have ballistic missiles and an ability to hit a country, why would any country voluntarily offer up their ballistic missile capabilities? It's total insanity. It's a Rubicon that Iran are not going to be willing to cross. And that will be the area that that will be the kind of wound that Israel will be pressing hard into to try and make this conflict happen. Hi, babe. I think Nads is in the room. Nads is out buying Mark his Valentine gift. No, she's off to a, well, no, I won't say what you're off to, darling, so it's a nice surprise, but she's off to help the wizard. No, she's off to help, well, the Greens, actually, Hannah Spencer up in Gorton and Denton. Send them all my love, Nads, and I don't know if you heard from this live, Nads, the Shabana Mahmood was the first to respond to the finding, the ruling, and they're immediately appealing the ban. Let's just hear a final moment from the ghoul of Tel Aviv.
זה מוצתה השיחה, הייתי אומר, אם כי גם נגע כמובן גם בעזה וגם באזור כולו, וגם בדברים כלליים אחרים. בכל אופן, שיחה נוספת עם ידיד ענק של...
Dearest, we touched on Gaza. We touched on Gaza. I'm now going to play you a clip from Isaac Herzog, the president of Israel, talking with outrage about the unverified statistics around what Israel is outraged about. Israel cares about Persians dying. Israel's suddenly like, fucking hell, Iran's killed 50,000 people. The fact that they've killed anywhere between 70 and 250,000 Palestinians with bombs that vaporize people so there are no remains. Listen to this. This is the Israeli charm offensive. Oh, and we discussed Gaza. Oh, yeah, we had a chat about Gaza. Gaza's great. Gaza's great. Yeah. Families sifting for the remains of their bodies with sieves. Gaza is looking great. It's fantastic. Yeah, great stuff in Gaza.
You lift the ban on international media going into Gaza? Will you lift the ban on international media going into Gaza?
So thank you for this question.
Thank you for this question. What? I mean, he literally, it's like, what's the vampire from Sesame Street? Thank you for this question. What? The question you're now going to give us some fucking lie to? Listen to this. Listen to why they won't let the international media. We know why. It's a crime scene. They're covering a crime scene. They want to manage the forensics of the crime scene, and they don't want anyone to see the absolute fucking devastation. But listen to his answer. This is staggering.
Gaza.
So thank you for this question, Nat, because the issue in Gaza is that you have a very dense area, all booby-trapped, full of ammunition and bombs. If you send a sniffing dog, a whole building explodes. And that is why Israel was cautious, so that people, journalists will not be hurt.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Oh, thank God for President Isaac Herzog of Israel and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Netanyahu said, oh, Gaza, it looks fine. It's great. Herzog, we don't want any journalists getting hurt. The fact that they've killed over 250 journalists doesn't matter. Do you know what, Herzog? Why don't you let us all be the judge of that? Why don't you let journalists who've worked in war zones, why don't you let international aid agencies, why don't you let international organizations who can go in and before they unbooby trap everywhere, they can also examine the countless thousands of crime scenes you've left behind. Why don't you let them do that? And why do you not? Why don't you just stop letting the poor sniffer dogs go in and get blown up? That's another sort of yet another grisly detail of your evil. So that's Netanyahu and Herzog's charm offensive. Herzog, we're looking after you, journalists. We don't want you in there because we don't want anything bad. The fact that any journalist who went in there would probably have 18 IDF sniper rifle fucking sights locked onto their heads. He's not Middle Eastern. So many people banging the drum for Israel aren't Middle Eastern. I mean, it's God Almighty. We're not allowed to fucking say it, but it's a fact. I just thought I'd show this clip because it made me laugh. This is totally unrelated, by the way. We're kind of wrapping up. So just for a bit of shits and giggles, though, it makes you laugh and then it makes you cry because you think, oh my God, he's responsible for America's health.
Said, I'm not scared of a germ. I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. And I know this disease will kill me. Right. Like if I don't.
Look at Theo Von. Theo Von is the podcast host there. Theo Von's face is screaming. I'm going to play you it one more time. I'm not scared of germs. I used to snort cocaine off a toilet seat. And do you know what? There are two things about this clip that are really bizarre. One, massive relatability. I mean, I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it. And two, I would argue that maybe sniffing cocaine off a toilet seat doesn't sound like it's not had a bad effect on his health. But Theo Von's look at the end is the look of a man who runs a podcast who knows he's sat on top of one of the most memeable, viral clips he's possibly ever had on his podcast. Just watch his face again at the end.
He said, I'm not scared of a germ. You know, I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. And I know this disease will kill me. Right. Like if I don't.
There he is. Yep. Great. I've got the clip. Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, Robert Marriott, the ICJ and the ICC are going far too slowly. I think it's all a strategy. The fact that the ICJ and the ICC are going so slowly, and I don't agree. I don't think that, because it's going to take so long, nothing should really happen in the Gaza Strip. I don't agree. I think humanitarian aid teams need to go in and build or construct camps that are makeshift, absolutely. But I think, unfortunately, I think we do need to preserve much of the demolition and devastation for a little bit longer so that we can get people in to examine it. This rush, this enforced hurry towards building there is all about concealing the evidence. That's all it's about. That's all it's about. So anyway, ending on that note there, have a good day, guys. How to Stay Married will be landing tonight. There was an issue in the upload last night, and a vlog will be landing also later today. And we will see you tomorrow for the Curlies and also for Saturday Moaning too. And also happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Have a good day.